The massive space station called Nexus Prime floated in the darkness between two bright stars. The station was shaped like a giant ring, slowly spinning in the cold void of space. Ships from 12 different alien worlds were docked to its outer hull like metal insects feeding on a steel flower. Captain Lee Daeho stood at the viewing window of the human transport ship, watching the alien vessels. His uniform was crisp and clean, but his eyes were tired from 3 years of war. The war that had cost humanity so much. The war that had brought them here to surrender. At least that was what the aliens thought. "Captain, we're receiving docking clearance," said the young officer behind him. The man's voice shook slightly. Most of the crew was nervous. They had every right to be. Nexus Prime was deep in alien space, surrounded by enemy fleets. "Thank you, Lieutenant. Begin docking procedures," Daeho replied. He turned away from the window and walked toward the shuttle bay. His boots made soft clicking sounds on the metal floor. Ambassador Park So-young was waiting for him near the shuttle. She was a small woman with sharp eyes and graying hair. Her diplomatic robes were simple and dark. She looked like someone who had given up hope. That was exactly how she wanted to look. "Are you ready for this, Captain?" she asked quietly. "As ready as anyone can be for what we're about to do," he answered. His voice was calm, but Park could see the tension in his shoulders. Around them, 20 human soldiers prepared their equipment. They wore dress uniforms instead of battle armor. Their weapons were ceremonial swords and ancient rifles. They looked like an honor guard, not a fighting force. The aliens would see them as harmless decorations. The shuttle bay doors opened with a soft hiss. Beyond them lay the docking tube that connected to Nexus Prime. The air that flowed in carried strange smells from a dozen different worlds. Commander Kim Tae-jin approached the ambassador. He was a tall man with scars on his face from the Battle of Mars. His ceremonial sword hung at his side, but Park knew he had other weapons hidden beneath his uniform. "Ma'am, the advance team reports that station security is standard. The aliens are confident." "Maybe too confident," he said. Park nodded. "Good. That's what we want them to think." They walked through the docking tube in single file. The walls were made of some alien metal that seemed to glow with its own light. Strange symbols were carved into the surface. Daeho tried to memorize the layout as they moved. Every detail might be important later. The main entrance to Nexus Prime was enormous. The ceiling stretched up so high it disappeared in shadows. Alien beings moved through the space like a living river of different shapes and colors. Some walked on 2 legs like humans. Others crawled on many legs or floated through the air. A group of alien officials waited for them at the security checkpoint. The leader was a creature that looked like a giant lizard wearing golden robes. His name was High Regent Vorthak, and he ruled the alliance of alien worlds that had been fighting humanity. "Welcome to Nexus Prime, Ambassador Park," Vorthak said. His voice came through a translation device that made it sound cold and mechanical. "We are pleased that humanity has finally seen reason." Park bowed slightly. "Thank you for agreeing to meet with us, High Regent. Earth hopes this can end the bloodshed between our peoples." Vorthak's yellow eyes studied the human delegation. His gaze lingered on the honor guard with their ancient weapons. Park could see him thinking that humans were primitive and weak. "Indeed, your escort is quite modest," Vorthak said. "I expected more soldiers for such an important occasion." "We come in peace," Park replied. "We have no need for large military forces here." This seemed to please Vorthak. His scaly lips curved in what might have been a smile. "Excellent. Please follow me to your quarters. The treaty ceremony will begin tomorrow." They were led through corridors filled with alien artwork and technology. Daeho noticed the locations of security, cameras, and weapon emplacements. Tae-jin observed the guard rotations and patrol patterns. Every member of the honor guard was doing the same thing, though they pretended to be tourists amazed by alien culture. Their quarters were in a section of the station reserved for visiting diplomats. The rooms were comfortable but clearly monitored. Small alien devices in the walls recorded everything they said and did. That evening, Park held a briefing for her team. She spoke carefully, knowing the aliens were listening. "Tomorrow we will sign the treaty that ends this terrible war," she said. "I know the terms are harsh, But humanity cannot continue fighting. We have lost too many ships and too many lives. Dr. Yoonji-hee raised her hand. She was the team's cultural expert, a small woman with kind eyes. Ambassador, will we be allowed to study alien biology as part of the cultural exchange program? Yes, Doctor. The High Regent has been very generous in allowing such studies. In reality, Ji-Hai was not just a cultural expert. She was a weapons designer who specialized in biological warfare. Her studies would help her create weapons that could target specific alien species. Tech specialist Han Min-soo spoke next. Ma'am, I've been asked to install some translation equipment to help with tomorrow's ceremony. The aliens want better communication between our species. Park nodded. That sounds reasonable. Please coordinate with station technical services. Min-soo's translation equipment was actually a network of spy devices. Once installed, they would give humanity control over many of the station's computer systems. After the briefing, the team scattered to their individual rooms. To any alien watching, they looked like tired diplomats preparing for an important day. In reality, each person had specific tasks to complete during the night. In another part of the station, Vorthak met with his own advisors. The chamber was dark and cold, filled with the representatives of 11 alien species. They had been fighting humanity for 3 years, and now victory was within their grasp. The humans are weaker than we expected, said Senator Quilkson, a snake-like creature with multiple arms. Their delegation is small and poorly defended. Admiral Rexthal, a being that looked like a walking suit of armor, added his thoughts. Our intelligence reports were correct. The human fleet has been scattered, their colonies are defenseless. Tomorrow we can end this war permanently. Vorthak leaned back in his chair. Remind me of the final plan. Quilkson smiled with too many teeth. The humans will sign the treaty in the main chamber. All their leaders will be in one place. Once the document is signed, we activate the trap. Security forces will arrest the delegation. Our fleet will destroy any human ships in the area. Then we send a message to Earth, surrender completely or be destroyed. And if they refuse to surrender? Asked Rexthal. Then we glass their planet. Vorthak said simply. Humanity will serve as an example to other species who might challenge the hegemony. The alien leaders were pleased with their plan. Humanity had walked into their trap willingly. By tomorrow night, the human species would be either slaves or extinct. But in the human quarters, different preparations were being made. Daeho sat in his room reviewing station schematics that Min-soo had quietly downloaded. The technical specialist's equipment was already doing its work, mapping the station's systems and finding weaknesses. Tae-jin checked his weapons. Hidden in his ceremonial sword was a plasma blade that could cut through alien armor. His uniform contained lightweight body armor and tactical equipment. Each member of the honor guard carried similar hidden gear. Ji-Hai worked at a small device that looked like a medical scanner. She was analyzing air samples from different parts of the station, learning about alien biology and chemistry. By morning, she would know exactly how to create weapons that could target each species. Park herself was the most important part of the deception. Her diplomatic background was real, but so was her training in military intelligence. She had spent months learning to act defeated and desperate. The aliens believed her performance completely. As the station's night cycle began, both sides prepared for the next day. The aliens sharpened their claws and checked their weapons. The humans made their own preparations, but much more quietly. In the depths of space around Nexus Prime, 12 alien dreadnoughts waited in formation. Their crews were confident and eager. Tomorrow they would witness the end of human resistance. What they did not know was that human ships were also nearby, hiding in the shadows between the stars. Advanced stealth technology kept them invisible to alien sensors. The crews of these ships were not confident or eager. They were cold and professional, like surgeons preparing for a delicate operation. The trap was set, but the question remained, who was the hunter and who was the prey? As Park lay in her bed, staring at the alien ceiling above her, she thought about the message she had sent before leaving Earth. It was a simple phrase that would mean nothing to alien interceptors. The fox knows the hounds are hunting. Tomorrow would tell if the fox was clever enough to survive. The last thing she saw before closing her eyes was a small red light blinking on her communication device. The signal meant that everything was in place. The real game was about to begin. In the morning, they would all learn what happened when you tried to corner a species that had crawled out of caves to touch the stars. The aliens thought they were dealing with a beaten enemy. They were about to discover that humanity's greatest strength was not in their weapons or their ships. The morning came too quickly for both sides, though for different reasons. The aliens were eager to spring their trap, while the humans were preparing to turn that trap against its makers. Ambassador Park So-young woke before dawn and dressed carefully in her formal diplomatic robes. She looked in the mirror and practiced her expression of defeat one more time. Her face showed the weariness of someone who had given up hope. It was a performance that had taken months to perfect. The main conference chamber of Nexus Prime was a marvel of alien engineering. The ceiling was a transparent dome that showed the stars beyond. 12 different types of chairs surrounded a circular table, each designed for a different alien species. At the center sat a simple human chair that looked small and fragile compared to the others. High Regent Vorthak entered the chamber wearing his most impressive ceremonial armor. The golden scales gleamed under the artificial lights. Behind him walked representatives from all 11 member worlds of the hegemony. Each alien looked confident and proud. Today was their day of victory. Park entered with her small team. Captain Lee Dae-ho walked beside her, followed by Dr. Yoon Ji-hai and Tech Specialist Han Min-soo. Commander Kim Tae-jin brought up the rear with the honor guard. They all looked appropriately nervous and defeated. "Welcome, Ambassador," Vorthak said as Park took her seat. "I trust you slept well in our facilities?" "Yes, thank you," Park replied, quietly. "Your hospitality has been very generous." Senator Quilkson slithered closer to the table. "Shall we begin with the terms of surrender? I believe your species is eager to end this costly conflict." Park nodded slowly. "We are. The war has taken a terrible toll on humanity. Our colonies are struggling, our fleet is scattered. We cannot continue fighting." This was music to alien ears. Vorthak's yellow eyes gleamed with satisfaction. The other aliens made pleased sounds in their various languages. "Very wise," Vorthak said. "Let us review the terms. First, humanity will limit its expansion to no more than 50 star systems. All other human colonies will be abandoned." Park winced as if the words caused her physical pain. We understand. Second, all human military vessels will be reduced by 75%. The remaining ships will be monitored by hegemony observers. "That will leave us almost defenseless," Park protested weakly. "That is the point," Admiral Rexthal said bluntly. His mechanical voice showed no sympathy. Defeated species do not need large militaries. The negotiations continued for hours. Each term was harsher than the last. The aliens demanded technology sharing, tribute payments, and restrictions on human trade. They wanted to reduce humanity to a client species that existed only by their permission. Through it all, Park played her role perfectly. She objected to the worst terms but always gave in when pressed. She looked like a diplomat who knew she had no choice but to accept whatever was offered. Meanwhile, her team was busy with their own tasks. Dr. Ji-hai had requested permission to conduct cultural exchange meetings with alien representatives. She claimed to be studying their biology for educational purposes. In reality, she was gathering detailed information about each species' weaknesses. Her first meeting was with a delegation from the Vorthan Empire. They were lizard-like creatures with thick scales and powerful claws. Ji-hai asked innocent questions about their diet, their breathing, and their reproduction. She recorded everything with devices that looked like simple translation tools. "Your species is fascinating," she told the Vorthan scientist. "Your respiratory system is so different from ours. How do you process oxygen in different atmospheric conditions?" The alien was pleased by her interest and answered in great detail. He never suspected that Ji-hai was learning how to create atmospheric toxins that would specifically target Vorthan biology. Her next meeting was with representatives from the Crystalline Collective. These beings were made of living rock that could reshape itself. Jihai asked about their mineral composition and energy absorption. Again, the aliens were happy to share information with the curious human scientist. By the end of the day, Jihai had met with representatives from 8 different species. Her medical scanner had analyzed their biological signatures. Her notebooks were filled with data about alien physiology. Most importantly, she had begun synthesizing custom bioweapons. In her portable laboratory, tech specialist Minsu was having equal success with his mission. He had convinced the station's technical staff to let him install translation enhancement devices throughout Nexus Prime. The aliens believed these devices would improve communication between species. In truth, the devices were sophisticated, computer infiltration tools. Each one contained a quantum processor that could hack into alien networks. Once activated, they would give Minsu control over many of the station's critical systems. These devices will help prevent misunderstandings, Minsu explained to the alien technicians. Better communication leads to better cooperation. The aliens agreed enthusiastically. They helped him install the devices in conference rooms, security centers, and communication hubs. They were essentially giving humanity backdoor access to their own computer systems. Minsu worked carefully, testing each device as he installed it. The quantum processors were designed to remain dormant until activated by a specific signal. To alien scanners, they would appear to be simple translation computers. Commander Taijin was conducting his own form of reconnaissance. He led the honor guard on ceremonial inspections of the station. They visited the main security center, the power generation facilities, and the docking bays where the alien ships were moored. We are honored to see the great achievements of the hegemony, Taijin told their alien guides. Humanity has much to learn from your advanced civilization. The aliens were pleased by this flattery and showed the humans everything they wanted to see. Taijin memorized the locations of weapon emplacements, shield generators, and critical systems. His men noted guard positions, patrol routes, and security procedures. To the aliens, the honor guard looked like soldiers who had given up their warrior pride. Their ceremonial weapons seemed outdated and harmless. The truth was very different. Each member of the guard was an elite special forces operative. Their ceremonial equipment contained hidden weapons and armor. Captain Dae Ho spent his time observing and planning. He attended formal dinners and cultural events, always playing the role of a defeated military officer. He spoke about the losses humanity had suffered and the hopelessness of continued resistance. Our fleet at Titan was destroyed completely, he told Admiral Rexthal during one dinner. We lost 12 dreadnoughts and over 40,000 crew members. It was our greatest defeat. Rexthal was pleased to hear this. Yes, that was a glorious victory for the hegemony. Your Admiral Chang fought bravely, but human tactics are primitive compared to ours. Daeho nodded sadly. Admiral Chang was a good man. His death was a great loss to our military. What Daeho did not mention was that Admiral Chang had survived the battle and was currently commanding the real human fleet. The defeat at Titan had been a carefully staged deception. Human ships had used advanced holographic technology to make their fleet appear larger and then smaller, creating the illusion of a devastating loss. As the second day of negotiations progressed, the aliens grew more confident. The humans seemed broken and desperate. Their small delegation was clearly all they could afford to send. Their requests for mercy fell on deaf ears. Perhaps we are being too generous, Senator Quilkson suggested during a break in the talks. Why allow them 50 star systems? 20 would be more than enough. Vorthak considered this. You may be right. A defeated enemy should not be allowed to retain so much territory. When negotiations resumed, the aliens presented even harsher terms. They reduced the number of permitted human colonies and increased the tribute payments. Park protested weakly, but eventually agreed to everything they demanded. You are being very reasonable, Ambassador, Vorthak said with satisfaction. Perhaps humanity is wiser than we thought. The formal treaty document was prepared by teams of alien scribes and lawyers. It was written in 12 different languages, though the human version was deliberately insulting in its simplicity. The aliens wanted to make sure humanity understood their new position as a conquered species. As evening approached, plans were made for the signing ceremony. It would take place the next morning in the Grand Chamber, with representatives from all 12 species present. The ceremony would be broadcast throughout the galaxy as a demonstration of hegemony power. That night, both sides made their final preparations. In his private quarters, Vorthak met with his military commanders. The alien fleet had moved into position around the station. 12 massive dreadnoughts formed a perfect sphere, their weapons aimed at the human transport ships. Once the treaty is signed, we move immediately, Vorthak instructed. Security. Teams will arrest the human delegation. The fleet will destroy any human ships that attempt to escape. Admiral Rexthal, are your crews ready? Yes, High Regent. We have been waiting for this moment for 3 years. The alien commanders were confident. Their trap was perfect. The humans had no way to escape and no way to fight back. By tomorrow evening, humanity would be finished as an independent species. In the human quarters, a very different kind of meeting was taking place. Park. The morning of the treaty signing arrived with all the ceremony the aliens could muster. Banners from 12 different worlds hung from the ceiling of the Grand Chamber. Musicians from various species played haunting melodies that spoke of victory and conquest. The air hummed with anticipation and alien excitement. Ambassador Park So-young entered the chamber wearing her finest diplomatic robes. She carried herself with the dignity of someone who had accepted defeat, but refused to be broken by it. Behind her walked her small team, each playing their assigned role perfectly. The treaty document lay on the central table like a death sentence. It was bound in alien leather and sealed with wax from a dozen different worlds. The terms were everything the hegemony had demanded and more. Humanity would be reduced to a shadow of its former self. High Regent Vorthak stood at his place wearing ceremonial armor that made him look like a golden dragon. Representatives from all 11 member species surrounded the table. Their eyes gleamed with satisfaction as they watched the humans take their positions. Today marks the end of an unfortunate conflict, Vorthak announced to the gathered crowd. The human species has seen the wisdom of surrender. They will take their place as members of our great hegemony, though in a properly reduced capacity. Cameras from a dozen worlds recorded every moment. The ceremony was being broadcast across the galaxy as a demonstration of alien power. Other species would see what happened to those who challenged the hegemony. Park approached the table slowly. Her hand trembled slightly as she reached for the signing stylus. To everyone watching, she looked like a woman about to sign away her species' freedom. Do you, as representative of the human species, accept all terms of this treaty? Vorthak asked formally. Park paused, as if struggling with the words. Yes. For the good of humanity, I accept. She placed the stylus on the document and began to write her name. The aliens leaned forward eagerly. Victory was finally within their grasp. 3 years of war were about to end with complete alien triumph. Park finished writing the first letter of her name, then the second. The aliens held their breath. That was when Vorthak decided to reveal the true nature of their trap. Security teams now, he commanded. Armed aliens poured into the chamber from hidden doors. They wore battle armor and carried energy weapons. Their orders were to arrest the human delegation and prevent any escape. At the same time, Admiral Rexthal activated the fleet weapons. 12 alien dreadnoughts powered up their main guns, targeting the small human transport ships docked to the station. Vorthak's yellow eyes gleamed with triumph. Did you really think we would let you leave, Ambassador? This treaty was never about peace. It was about gathering all human leadership in one place so we could eliminate you. The other aliens laughed and made pleased sounds in their various languages. Finally, the deception was over. They could stop pretending to respect humanity. But instead of fear or despair, Park smiled. We know, she said calmly. We've always known. Vorthak's expression changed from triumph to confusion. What? Park set down the signing stylus and looked directly at the alien leader. Did you really think we would walk into an obvious trap? Without a plan? We've known about your real intentions for months. Around the chamber, the human honor guard suddenly moved with deadly precision. What had looked like ceremonial soldiers revealed themselves as elite commandos. Hidden weapons appeared in their hands as if by magic. Commander Tae-jin drew his ceremonial sword, but instead of ancient steel, a blue plasma blade ignited. He moved faster than the aliens thought possible, cutting down the nearest security team before they could react. The other guard members followed his lead. Hidden armor activated beneath their dress uniforms. Advanced weapon systems came online. In seconds, they had transformed from ceremonial decorations into a lethal fighting force. But the real surprise was still to come. Tech specialist Min Soo activated his hidden communication device. Throughout the station, the translation enhancement devices he had installed suddenly revealed their true purpose. Quantum processors came online and began infiltrating alien computer systems. Network access achieved, Min Soo announced calmly. Taking control of station systems now, emergency lights began flashing as human computer viruses spread through Nexus Prime's networks. Security doors slammed shut, trapping alien reinforcements. Weapon systems turned against their own operators. Life support systems began cycling alien-specific atmospheric mixtures out of critical areas. Dr. Ji-hai opened her medical bag and pulled out devices that looked nothing like translation tools. These were biological weapon dispensers, each one designed for a specific alien species. Vorthan respiratory toxin deployed, she announced as she activated the first device. Crystalline frequency disruptor active, slithering acid neutralizer, released. Across the chamber, aliens began to collapse as weapons tailored to their specific biology took effect. The Vorthans gasped as their respiratory systems failed. The crystalline beings shattered as harmonic frequencies disrupted their molecular structure. The snake-like Quilkson writhed as their acid blood was neutralized. Admiral Rexthal tried to coordinate his fleet's attack, but his communication systems were no longer responding. What is happening? Why can't we target the human ships? The answer came from an unexpected source. Captain Lee Dae-ho removed his dress uniform jacket to reveal advanced combat armor underneath. But more importantly, he removed the insignia of a simple captain and replaced it with the stars of an admiral. "Allow me to introduce myself properly," he said to the stunned aliens. "Admiral Lee Dae-ho, commander of the Human Defense Fleet, and I'm afraid your target data is a bit out of date." He activated his personal communication device. "Fleet Admiral Cho Hyun-woo, you may decloak the fleet." Outside the station, space itself seemed to tear apart as advanced stealth systems deactivated. The small human transport ships flickered and disappeared, revealed as sophisticated holographic projections. In their place appeared a massive human battle fleet. Dreadnoughts larger than anything in the alien armada materialized from nothing. Sleek destroyers with experimental weapon systems dropped their cloaking. Carrier ships released swarms of fighter craft that moved like silver clouds through space. Admiral Rexthal stared at his tactical displays in horror. "Impossible! Our intelligence said the human fleet was scattered." "Your intelligence was fed exactly what we wanted it to know," Dae-ho replied. "Every defeat we suffered was carefully staged. Every scattered ship was exactly where we planned it to be. The alien fleet found itself surrounded by human forces that outnumbered them 3-1. Worse, the human ships were equipped with technology the aliens had never seen before. Adaptive shields that learned from each attack. Quantum torpedoes that could phase through enemy armor. AI-assisted targeting systems that never missed." On the station, Colonel Oh Sung-min emerged from a maintenance shaft with a team of human special forces. They had been hiding inside Nexus Prime for days, smuggled aboard in supply containers and equipment shipments. Station secured, Sung-min reported as his team systematically captured key positions. "All critical systems under our control." Chief Engineer Baek Hai-wan activated hidden charges that had been placed throughout the station during the ceremonial inspections. EMP pulses disabled alien weapons and communication gear. Emergency bulkheads sealed off sections containing hostile forces. Engineering systems locked down, Haywan announced. Nexus Prime is now effectively a human military installation. Vorthak found himself surrounded by humans who were no longer pretending to be defeated diplomats. His golden armor seemed suddenly fragile against their advanced weapons. "How?" was all he could manage to say. Ambassador Park straightened her diplomatic robes and smiled coldly. "Because underestimating humans is the last mistake anyone ever makes. You saw what you wanted to see. A broken species begging for mercy. You never bothered to look deeper." She gestured around the chamber where alien representatives lay unconscious or disabled by Jihai's biological weapons. "We knew you were planning this trap 6 months ago. Our intelligence networks are better than you thought, so we decided to let you spring it, but on our terms." The battle outside was turning into a rout. Human ships moved with coordination and precision that the aliens couldn't match. Their weapons cut through alien shields like they weren't there. Their defenses turned alien attacks into harmless light shows. Captain Song Mi-Ran led a squadron of stealth fighters through the alien formation. Her ships were invisible to alien sensors until they opened fire. Each attack disabled an alien ship's engines or weapons, leaving them helpless but alive. "This is Ghost Leader to all units," she broadcast. "Remember, we want prisoners and intelligence. Disable, don't destroy." The aliens found themselves in a nightmare scenario. They were completely outmatched by an enemy they had thought was defeated. Their trap had become their tomb. Admiral Rexthal tried to order a retreat, but his ship's engines had been disabled by targeted EMP attacks. His communication systems were jammed by human electronic warfare. Even his escape pods had been locked down by Minsu's computer viruses. "Surrender your vessels immediately," came a broadcast from the human fleet. "You are surrounded and outgunned. Any ship that continues to resist will be destroyed." On the station, the transformation of Nexus Prime from alien stronghold to human command center took less than 2 hours. What had seemed impossible that morning was now complete reality. The station that was meant to witness humanity's surrender had become the symbol of their ultimate victory. Fleet Admiral Cho Hyun-woo materialized in the main chamber via transport beam, his arrival announcing that human technology had advanced far beyond what the aliens had imagined. He was a tall man with silver hair and eyes that had seen too many battles. His uniform bore decorations from conflicts the aliens had never heard of. "Admiral Dae-ho," he said with a slight smile. "I see the diplomatic mission was successful." "More than successful, sir," Dae-ho replied. "The aliens provided us with everything we needed to complete the operation." Around them, alien leaders sat in restraints that had been designed specifically for their various physiologies. They looked like dangerous animals that had suddenly found themselves in cages. The proud representatives of 12 worlds now faced the reality of total defeat. High Regent Vorthak stared at the human officers with something approaching awe. "Your fleet. How many ships do you actually have?" Hyun-woo consulted a datapad. "Currently deployed in this sector? About 400 capital ships and twice that many support vessels. The full defense fleet numbers in the thousands." This number hit the aliens like a physical blow. Their intelligence had suggested humanity possessed maybe 50 major warships. The revelation that they had been fighting less than 10% of human military strength was devastating. Senator Quilkson, still groggy from Jihai's biological weapon, tried to speak. "Impossible. We destroyed your shipyards at Titan. We saw the construction facilities burning." Dr. Jihai approached with a medical scanner, checking the aliens' vital signs. "The facilities you destroyed were decoys. Very expensive decoys, but worth it for the deception. Our real shipyards are mobile and hidden throughout space." She administered a mild stimulant to ensure Quilkson remained conscious for questioning. "The biological weapons I used on you are non-lethal but very specific. I spent 3 years studying alien physiology through our cultural exchange programs. Every sample you gave us, every medical scan you allowed, every biological question you answered helped me design these weapons." Admiral Rexthal's mechanical voice crackled with static from EMP damage. "The treaty, was it ever real?" Ambassador Park straightened her diplomatic robes and sat across from the alien commanders. There was always going to be a treaty. The question was whether it would be signed by equals or by a conquered species. She gestured to the chamber around them. You chose conquest over diplomacy. You planned genocide instead of peace. So now we write the treaty on our terms. Tech specialist Min-Su was working at a mobile command station, coordinating with human forces throughout the galaxy. Ambassador, I'm receiving reports from our intelligence networks. Word of the victory is spreading fast. Several hegemony member worlds are already requesting separate peace negotiations. This news seemed to drain what little fight remained from the alien leaders. Their mighty alliance was falling apart as each species tried to save itself. Captain Song Mi-Ran entered the chamber, removing her pilot's helmet to reveal short black hair and determined eyes. Admiral, the alien fleet is secured. We have 47 major warships under capture, including their flagship dreadnoughts. Hyunwoo nodded approvingly. Casualties? Minimal on both sides. The aliens surrendered quickly once they realized resistance was futile. Most of their crews are requesting political asylum rather than being returned to their home worlds. This was perhaps the most shocking revelation yet. The aliens were so convinced of human superiority that they preferred to become prisoners, rather than face their own government's explanations of how they had been defeated. Colonel Sung-min approached with a detailed report on the station's capture. Sir, we've completed the security sweep. Nexus Prime is fully under our control. The alien staff is cooperating completely. Many are asking to serve under human command. Chief Engineer Haewon had been studying the station's advanced systems. Admiral, this facility is more sophisticated than our intelligence suggested. With some modifications, it could serve as an excellent forward command base for our operations in this sector. The strategic implications were clear. Humanity had not just won a battle, they had captured the administrative center of alien space. Nexus Prime controlled trade routes, communication, networks, and military coordination for dozens of star systems. Park turned her attention back to the captured alien leaders. Now we discuss the real treaty. The terms will be very different from what you originally proposed. She activated a holographic display that showed the current political situation. Red indicators marked worlds under hegemony control. Green showed human territory. Yellow indicated neutral or unaligned systems. First, all hegemony military forces will withdraw from human space immediately. This includes colonies, trading posts, and observation stations. Vorthak tried to object. You cannot expect us to abandon strategic positions we have held for decades. You plan to force us to abandon positions we've held for centuries, Park replied coldly. The difference is that we have the power to enforce our demands. She continued with the second point. All human prisoners of war will be released immediately. All human assets seized during the conflict will be returned or compensated for at current market value. Senator Quilkson managed to speak despite his weakened condition. The economic cost would be enormous. Some of our worlds cannot afford such payments.
Then those worlds should not have supported a war of conquest, Ji-Hai said matter-of-factly. The medical data I collected shows that several species in your alliance are suffering from resource shortages. Perhaps you should have focused on
trade instead of warfare. The third demand was even more significant. The galactic hegemony as a military alliance is hereby dissolved. Member species may maintain whatever political relationships they choose, but there will be no coordinated military action against humanity or our allies. This caused an uproar among the alien leaders. The hegemony had been the foundation of their power for over a century. Without it, they were just individual species with individual concerns. Admiral Rexthal's damaged voice systems struggled to function. You are demanding the complete restructuring of galactic politics. Yes, Daeho said simply. That was always the price of trying to exterminate humanity. You should have considered the consequences before you started this war. Min-Su received another priority message and approached Park urgently. Ambassador, we're getting surrender requests from 17 different star systems. They want to negotiate individual peace treaties before we arrive with the fleet. The psychological impact of the victory was spreading faster than the news itself. Species that had supported the hegemony were rushing to distance themselves from the failed leadership. Hyunwoo smiled grimly. It seems fear travels faster than our ships. That's good. It will save lives on both sides. Park prepared to deliver the fourth demand. Humanity will establish permanent monitoring stations in key systems to ensure compliance with treaty terms. These stations will be considered sovereign human territory. You want to occupy our space, Vorthak said bitterly. We want to ensure you never again mistake our desire for peace as a sign of weakness, Park corrected. These monitoring stations will prevent future misunderstandings. The fifth and final demand was perhaps the most humiliating for the proud alien leaders. All species involved in the attack on this diplomatic mission will pay reparations to humanity over a period of 50 standard years. The amount will be determined by the damage assessment teams we will be sending to your worlds. Quilkson attempted one last protest. This will bankrupt our civilizations. The payments you demand are impossible. Dr. Ji-hai consulted her biological data. According to the resource allocation studies I conducted during our cultural exchanges, most of your worlds spend between 30 and 40% of their gross production on military expenses. Reducing that to 10% should provide adequate funds for reparations. The aliens realized they were not just being defeated, they were being dissected by enemies who understood their societies better than they understood themselves. Song. Miran delivered another report from the fleet operations. Admiral, long-range sensors are detecting massive fleet movements throughout the sector. It looks like individual worlds are repositioning their ships defensively rather than maintaining alliance formations. The dissolution has already begun, Hyunwoo observed. Fear is a powerful motivator. Park stood and walked to the observation window that looked out on the human fleet. Hundreds of ships hung in space like metal stars, their weapons powered down but clearly visible. The sight was both beautiful and terrifying. There is one more point we need to discuss, she said without turning around. The attack on our diplomatic mission under a flag of truce is considered a war crime under both human and galactic law. The individuals responsible will face trial. This statement hit the alien leaders like a thunderbolt. They had assumed that surrender would mean exile or imprisonment, not formal prosecution for war crimes. Vorthak's voice was barely a whisper. What will happen to us? Park finally turned around and her expression was colder. 6 months after the victory at Nexus Prime, the galaxy looked very different. Where once the galactic hegemony had cast its shadow across dozens of star systems, now human ships patrolled trade routes and maintained peace between species that had forgotten how to coexist without a common enemy. President Nam Ki-young stood at the observation deck of the newly renamed Humanity Station, watching construction crews install the final pieces of human technology. The alien architecture remained, but it now served human purposes. The station had become a symbol of how completely the balance of power had shifted. The transformation is remarkable, said General Lim Jae-sung as he joined the president at the window. 6 months ago, this was the heart of an empire dedicated to our destruction. Now it's the administrative center for the most peaceful period this region has seen in over a century. Nam nodded thoughtfully. Fear can be a powerful motivator for peace, but it's not a permanent solution. We need to give these species something better than conquest to aspire to. The human victory had indeed created peace, but it was the peace of the defeated rather than the peace of the willing. Former hegemony worlds had stopped fighting because they knew they couldn't win, not because they had learned to value cooperation. Admiral Lee Dae-ho approached with the daily status report. He had been promoted to sector commander and was now responsible for maintaining stability across what had once been enemy territory. Mr. President, the reparation payments are ahead of schedule. Most worlds are actually paying more than required. They seem to think it will earn them favorable treatment. And will it? Nam asked. Of course. The faster they fulfill their obligations, the sooner we can begin normal diplomatic and trade relationships. Several worlds have already requested to join our trade networks. This was perhaps the most significant development since the victory. Former enemies were not just accepting defeat, they were actively seeking closer ties with humanity. The economic benefits of human technology and trade connections were too valuable to ignore. Ambassador Park So-young had spent the months since Nexus Prime traveling between alien worlds, negotiating individual treaties and establishing new diplomatic relationships. She entered the observation deck carrying reports from her latest missions. Mr. President, I have updates from the Vorthan Empire and the Crystalline Collective. Both governments have formally apologized for their participation in the war and have requested permanent human diplomatic missions on their homeworlds. Nam was pleased but not surprised. What about military cooperation? The Vorthans are offering to provide security for human trading vessels in their territory. The Crystallines want to purchase human defense systems for their outer colonies. They're particularly interested in our early warning networks. General Jae-sung smiled at this news. It seems our former enemies have become our best customers. Nothing motivates technological advancement like a thorough defeat. The economic transformation had been as dramatic as the military one. Human corporations were expanding into former hegemony space, bringing advanced technology and industrial capacity to worlds that had been focused on military production for decades. Dr. Yoon Ji-hee had established research facilities on 12 different worlds, studying alien biology not for weapons development but for medical applications. Her war crimes had been pardoned in exchange for her work developing treatments for diseases that affected multiple species. The irony is fascinating, she had explained to Park during one of their meetings. The same biological knowledge I used to create weapons is now helping us save lives. Perhaps that's the real victory, turning instruments of war into tools of healing. Tech specialist Han Min-soo had become the director of Galactic Communications, overseeing the network of quantum communication relays that connected human space with former enemy territory. The same infiltration skills he had used at Nexus Prime now served to maintain secure communications across dozens of star systems. Commander Kim Tae-jin had been given command of the new Galactic Security Force, a joint human-alien organization responsible for maintaining peace and preventing the kind of misunderstandings that had led to the war. His former enemies now served under his command, protecting the very trade routes they had once tried to destroy. The transformation of individual lives reflected the larger changes in galactic society. Colonel Oh Sung-min had established training academies on 6 different worlds, teaching former enemies the principles of cooperative defense rather than conquest. His students included many of the same alien officers who had once planned humanity's destruction. The most important lesson, he would tell each graduating class, is that strength without wisdom leads to defeat, while cooperation with intelligence leads to prosperity. Chief Engineer Baek Hai-won had overseen the construction of massive industrial complexes that produced goods for both human and alien markets. Former weapons factories now manufactured medical equipment, environmental processors, and peaceful technologies that improved life throughout the sector. Captain Song Mi-ran had become the commander of the new Joint Exploration Fleet, leading missions to uncharted regions of space with crews that included representatives from dozens of different species. The same pilots who had once fought each other now worked together to expand the boundaries of known space. But perhaps the most significant change was in the attitude of the former hegemony leadership. High Regent Vorthak had been tried for war, crimes, and sentenced to 20 years of community service, specifically working to rebuild the world's damage during the conflict. He now oversaw refugee resettlement programs and had become an unexpected advocate for peaceful cooperation. I spent 50 years believing that strength meant the ability to destroy your enemies, he had said during a recent interview. Humanity taught me that true strength is the ability to turn enemies into allies. Senator Quilkson had been assigned to oversee the reparations program, ensuring that payments were fair and that no world was driven to economic collapse. His detailed knowledge of hegemony finances made him uniquely qualified for the task. Admiral Rexthal had perhaps undergone the greatest transformation. His mechanical body had been repaired with human technology, and he now served as an advisor to the Galactic Security Force. The former military commander had become a passionate advocate for demilitarization. As Nam looked out at the peaceful space around Humanity Station, he reflected on the lessons of the past 6 months. The victory at Nexus Prime had been complete, but building a lasting peace was proving to be an even greater challenge. "General, what's our assessment of the long-term stability?" he asked. Jae-sung consulted his datapad. "Better than expected, sir. The economic integration is proceeding smoothly. Former enemy worlds are becoming dependent on human trade and technology, which creates a powerful incentive for continued cooperation. And militarily? The joint defense agreements are working well. Several former hegemony worlds have actually requested increased human military presence to deter other potential threats. We're not seen as occupiers, but as protectors." Park added her own observations. The psychological impact of the victory continues to resonate. Other species are studying human tactics and trying to understand how we achieved such a complete transformation of galactic politics. Many are requesting to join our alliance voluntarily. This was the most remarkable outcome of all. Species that had never been involved in the original conflict were seeking human protection and partnership. The demonstration of human capability had made them the most desired allies in the galaxy. Nam activated a communication channel that reached every human facility in the sector. "This is President Nam Ki-young speaking from Humanity Station. 6 months ago, we faced a threat that could have meant the extinction of our species. Today, we stand as the guarantors of peace for dozens of worlds and billions of beings." His words were broadcast simultaneously in over 40 languages to ensure that every species could understand the message. "We did not seek this position of leadership, but we will not abandon the responsibilities it brings. Humanity will continue to defend the innocent, protect the weak, and ensure that the galaxy remains a place where different species can coexist in peace and prosperity." The broadcast concluded with a simple but powerful statement that would be remembered for generations. "We offered peace first. When that was rejected, we offered strength. Now we offer partnership to all who share our vision of a galaxy united, not by conquest but by cooperation." As the communication ended, Nam turned to his advisors. "What's our next priority?" Daeho smiled. "The exploration fleet has detected signs of an unknown civilization beyond the outer rim. They appear to be expanding toward our space." "Hostile?" Nam asked. "Unknown. But they'll soon learn what every species in this sector has learned. Humanity prefers to make friends, but we're very good at making enemies regret their choices." The irony was not lost on any of them. The species that had tried to destroy humanity for being too weak was now relying on human strength for protection against new threats. The galaxy had learned that underestimating humans was not just dangerous, it was impossible to survive. In his private quarters that evening, Nam received a personal message from Admiral Chang, the officer whose death at Titan had been such a crucial part of the Decept.